190 countries with access to cash in 3 minutes flat, and then to be able to participate in wealth generation. That's really the critical measure. At Forecast, we share this industry with the world from our perspective in Asia. And having spent the last decade covering Asia post-2008 crisis, I really saw the real tension from emerging markets to really function and participate in a global economy. What critically excited me and all of you and this entire industry is that really for the first time ever, you get to participate in a global economy without a third party necessarily, and participate at a wealth generation level to the 8th decimal point. Now for us here in developed markets in the United States, in the Western Hemisphere, this is pennies on the dollar, that's a rounding error, but for so many more people around the world, in emerging markets and developing nations, that's real value. Well, from that to this, up next, we're going to take a look at the evolving world of treasury management. Corporate payments, asset custody, investment and borrowing. Blockchain holds tremendous promise in all of these areas. Please welcome Circle's Jeremy Allaire, Eran Stigman, and Audit Vaidiu. They're here to preview how to run your business on-chain with Circle.
All right, welcome guys. So I wanted to just talk for a minute before introducing Eran and Adid, who helped lead product in this area. Earlier this week, we walked through the pillars of Circle's platform strategy: liquidity, treasury, payments, and Web3 services. We're building out a lot of product. Hopefully, all of you have had a chance to get a deeper sense for what we're building out. But this whole arena of treasury is a huge piece of the puzzle for us. And I think the important thing here is we have a vision for how companies and organizations are going to move the way they operate to, over time, be entirely operating on-chain. There's so many aspects of what's involved, both financially and in other areas, that can benefit from on-chain technology. And our vision is to provide a set of services that allows any organization, any corporation to migrate and move more and more of what they do financially to an on-chain world. So I'm really excited. We're going to share some, I think, significant details on upcoming product releases that build on this. And without further ado, I'm going to have Eran and Adid take you through it. So thank you.
Hello, everyone. So as Jeremy was saying, we believe that the future of business is on-chain. And as the momentum continues to grow and more organizations start operating on-chain, they're going to need much more sophisticated tools to help them run their business effectively. We already have many business customers using Circle Account today to mint and transact and earn yield, but we're only just getting started. We want to create the platform that helps businesses run their entire business on-chain. And in this session, we're going to be talking about our broader vision and some of our upcoming roadmap. We're designing our platform to be both open and programmable because we recognize that we're going to be part of a much broader ecosystem of tools that treasuries use every day, both traditional platforms and new DeFi protocols. Whether it's ERP platforms that you're using to pay your global suppliers, or DeFi protocols that you're using to earn yield. We've talked to organizations, both large and small, and we know how important these integrations are for you. And we want to make it as easy as possible to integrate with our platform through open APIs and protocols. Our ambition is to help unleash the power of programmable money. So let's talk about some of the building blocks and how we think about a Treasury platform. Store, pay, invest, and borrow. When you think about it, these aren't very different from kind of traditional services that you get from platforms today. But we've built this from the ground up for digital assets running on-chain. Starting with store. Every business that's operating on-chain is going to need to safely store their digital assets. It's almost a foundational aspect of the platform. We have a custodial model today, and we'll soon be releasing an MPC direct custody vault that we're going to be talking a lot more about shortly. We think that having both of these models together on a single platform is going to provide a lot more flexibility for businesses. Once you have your digital assets, as a business, you want to make sure you can transact with them easily. Every business needs to make payments to vendors and employees, as well as get paid. And we now live in a world that's 24/7 and global. We support instant on-chain transfers today, but have much more planned. Global on and off ramps are really important. I can't count the number of conversations I've had on this with partners over the last few days. It's going to be quite a while before the entire world is fully on-chain. And in the meantime, we want to make sure that you have access to fast and efficient local on and off ramps everywhere across the world. FX is another area of focus. We know how difficult this can be for international transfers. And we think there's a much more efficient way to do this, both more efficient and more transparent. Accidental transfers still happen all the time. I'm sure many of you have experienced this yourselves or know someone else who's had it happen to them. We want to build an integrated address book that helps you transfer funds with confidence, that's also got all the right permissioning and privacy controls embedded within it. As a treasurer, you need ways to put your assets to work. We launched our fully collateralized yield product late last year because we wanted to give treasurers an option to earn yield on their USDC deposits. The product has done incredibly well in what has been a very challenging market, and that's a testament both to the overall approach and a very clear regulatory framework. We plan to continue to add more flexibility to yield with features like open term, as well as add diversity through access to third-party DeFi lending protocols and platforms. Access to capital is critical for businesses, and we want to help facilitate that. As we continue to build out our infrastructure, we want to provide organizations both access to working capital as well as longer-term debt. We will be talking a lot more about these upcoming capabilities early next year. So that gives you some color on how we think about our Treasury platform and the different building blocks: store, pay, invest, and borrow. Now, I'm very excited to introduce Adit, who's going to be talking to you a lot more about our upcoming custody offering.
Thanks, Saran. So as you all have no doubt heard throughout the week, over the past decade, we've seen seismic shifts in the business landscape and the way that companies are operating. Many of the companies today have begun to transact on digital assets, but many companies are still using financial tools and infrastructure that hasn't been optimized for today's environment. And it's become really important for all companies to have full operational control over their digital assets so they can empower their global teams regardless of where they sit in the world. So let's start by taking a look at what a typical on-chain business looks like. Consider a multinational corporation headquartered in Switzerland. They have 1,600 employees, distributed across 16 countries globally. And as the company has grown, they've started to transact in digital assets to realize their speed and their cost efficiencies. Today, they use more than 18 digital currencies across 5 blockchains. But with all of this growth comes complexity. The company now needs to manage a growing list of team members that all sit in different time zones, offices, and countries around the world. And just like any company, there's a constant flow of new employees joining. Some employees are transitioning out. And there's a host of vendors, suppliers, and contractors that they need to pay. And similar to this company, you can also think about a hedge fund that has locations in New York City and Tokyo, or even an NFT marketplace that's connecting creators and buyers. All of these businesses share a common set of challenges as it relates to managing their treasury services. First, you have private key management. All these companies need to answer a few fundamental questions, like who should hold the keys to the assets? Which individuals need access to different assets? Which teams in an organization should be responsible for keeping those keys secure? Next, you have business continuity. Companies need flexible systems that give them the ability to set granular permissions to give their employees access to different tools. So they need to understand, how do they set up those policies? How do they make sure those policies can be enforced and updated amidst all the employee transitions that they have? And that's ultimately what influences the transaction integrity within a company. This is where they make sure that all the transactions before they're authorized and completed can go through the appropriate level of approvals. Lastly, businesses want access to a broader set of capabilities that open up new use cases for them. And how can they do that in a way that is both secure and doesn't disrupt their everyday operations? As Nikhil shared yesterday, earlier this year, we welcomed the Saibavo team to the Circle family. Saibavo has elegantly solved each of these problems through their industry-leading secure digital asset management platform. With Saibavo's solution, companies get an institutional wallet that has role-based permissions, which allows for companies to set granular permissions for all of their employees to access. We've seen this robust crypto infrastructure used for a myriad of different use cases, ranging from developer services all the way to crypto-native companies who use it to manage their treasuries on-chain. And we're such big believers in this platform that we're beginning to build our own solutions on top. So let's talk a little bit about how our custody solution addresses some of the problems we just covered. First, at the core of our custody solution is the separation of the rights to use the private keys from the responsibility of keeping those keys secure. This is a fundamental principle which ensures that no one individual in a company has access to all the assets. And throughout the experience, there's multi-factor authentication, which ensures that every transaction goes through the appropriate level of oversight and approvals before it's completed and ultimately broadcast on the blockchain. Businesses need flexible policies and systems that meet their market needs. Our custody solution allows businesses to ensure that different groups of employees have different access to the assets. So let's go back to that hedge fund we talked about earlier. Consider they have a location in New York City and Tokyo, and they have different teams of employees that are using the assets for appropriate reasons. So for example, you might have one group of employees that are placing trades on behalf of traders, and a second group of employees that might be managing payroll and invoices on behalf of vendors. The company can configure the policies to make sure that the different employees can have access to the different sets of assets, and they can go through the appropriate level of permissions. And all of these capabilities are accessible in one central interface for all the employees to use. When we think about the different roles and permissions that companies can use, there's 4 primary roles. First, you have creators. These are the individuals that have the ability to create a wallet instance, and they can configure the policies that governs that wallet. Secondly, you have operators. These are the individuals who can initiate a transaction request or any change request to a policy. Wallet approvers are people within a company who can approve or reject any transaction or policy request change. And finally, you have auditors. These are the individuals who will receive a report on every transaction that's made and every policy request. So you can see across these 4 different roles that a company can configure any corporate approval policy that it needs to meet its market needs. And as employees join, a company can seamlessly onboard or offboard employees by swapping out an employee and updating the policy to make sure that they can operate their businesses efficiently. Lastly, DeFi has brought about a lot of innovation and price discovery in the market. However, many of the existing solutions have fallen short of what enterprises need. For example, there's been a lack of oversight, reporting, and auditing. When customers access DeFi through our platform, they're able to get a level of transparency that allows them to see exactly how much money is being sent over, what kinds of transactions are being made, and they can leverage all the existing approval flows to do this. So we provide them a level of transparency that gives them the confidence. So as the risk profile for any transaction increases, they can increase the necessary levels of approval that they need. And I'm excited to announce for the first time that later this year, we'll begin to offer a limited set of customers some of these functionalities directly within the Circle account. We'll empower businesses to securely manage their digital assets 24/7 across multiple blockchains and multiple assets. The enterprise-grade policies and workflows that I mentioned earlier will significantly enhance the workflows that our customers have. From speaking with our customers, we know firsthand that their businesses have grown tremendously in the last few years, and we're excited to see how these tools are going to improve their existing workflows. We know that this is going to help not just the existing customers improve how they manage their treasuries on-chain, but this will make it seamless for any new business that wants to make that transition to begin managing their treasuries on-chain. This is just the beginning of our journey on custody, and we're really looking forward to offer it to our customers really soon. And with that, I want to thank you all for listening, and we're looking forward to building the future of custody with all of you. Thank you.